Jason, good to see you. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. I'm really thankful for our partnership. I love that we kind of went LinkedIn public with it, and really excited to be working together.
Thank you, Jason. Jason, are you guys Shopware? Is Shopware going to be there at the P21 Connect conference in Orlando?
Absolutely, absolutely. P21 is a very important part of our strategy, making sure that our merchants who want kind of next generation B2B commerce utility have the ability to have a tightly integrated version of e-commerce to their P21 system. So P21 is a very important part of our ecosystem, and we'll be there.
DC Cap is going to be there as well, and I think this is a straight 7th or 8th year, so definitely excited about attending P21 Connect. Love the people who host the conference. I also want to give a shout out to Cheryl Richardson. So she runs the P21 worldwide user group. Big shout out to her, and so it's a great group to be a part of. Yeah.
Yep, and this is actually, I think, our second year being a part of it. But what I have seen is that a lot of the merchants are really looking to see you the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth year to continue to demonstrate commitment to the relationship. And so that's really part of why we value the partnership with DC Cap, is because you're deeply committed to P21. We are as well. And by showing up together at events like this continues to cement our commitment.
Totally. And DC Cap started our integrator platform with the P21 community. We were solving a problem for P21 or distributors using P21. And we understood, hey, it's very challenging to connect the P21 ERP with, like, let's say, other e-com platforms. And that's how we got started. So yeah, very thankful to be a part of the community as well. Jason, I had a question for you. Epicor has Ecommerce Connect or the Epicor Commerce, and some P21 distributors or distributors who use P21 use the Epicor Commerce. So when would a distributor using P21 use Shopware?
Yeah, it's a great question. And frankly, there's 18 vendors on the Gartner Magic Quadrant that also provide commerce services. And so there's never a shortage of competition to serve merchants. Our belief is that, water ultimately will find its level. And for Shopware, it's the complex merchants. And when we're talking about distributors who have complex use cases, those distributors that we're a good fit for are the ones that have a sales team that need to be digitally enabled with new tools and capabilities like our digital sales room. These are really complicated motions and rules around who can buy what at what price. It has a lot to do with how you deal with the kind hierarchy and all these special rules you want to apply to your business. So in a lot of ways, Shopware really is a great fit for people with big problems big complexity that really need a modern system that's built for performance to really enable distributors to essentially empower their sales reps to make more money.
Yeah.
Same question back to you, by the way. Same question back to you, Karthik. Why there's a lot of different integrators, there's a lot of different iPaaS services, there's a lot of different ways to connect in to P21. Why DC Cap? What does DC Cap do that's special and different?
Great. The way we look at it, Jason, is DC Cap is an ERP first integration platform. DC Cap created this category. So instead of, we are not like a typical iPaaS vendor where we say, we connect anything and everything together. So ERP is the core of how a distributor runs their business. Everything, ERP is like the heart for a distributor. And I would like to say DC Cap is the brain, and we just make sure the seamless flow of data from one system to another, let's say in this case, from P21 to Shopware, but then you want to plug in HubSpot, you could plug in HubSpot or could be another system as well. So you could have that multi-way connection. So yeah, we are not like a typical iPaaS. We really understand P21 really well. I had one distributor comment this, hey, DC Cap understands integration of P21 better than even the P21 or Epicor does, So I thought that was a great compliment. I love our friends at Epicor, they are awesome. Love their leadership as well. They do a great job. And Epicor is solid with respect to the ERP, right? So let's say if I'm a distributor I would definitely go and buy the P21 product. It makes a lot of sense, especially in the HVAC plumbing space. It's awesome. But then, let's say for integration, Epicor also has their own offering, like you rightly pointed out, but they call it the Automation Studio, but they white labeled Workato, which is like an iPaaS, and then they try to make it work, or they make it work for the distributor. But we are the other way around. We are built for P21. We are built for the ERP. So actually, it's fun having these conversations, and I love talking about this to distributors as well.
Yeah. Well, what I really liked what you said there is there are people that do. Every business has a core business that they are going to be world class at, and for Profit 21, it's really being a world class ERP for distributors. They also provide commerce. They also provide the integration, but it's not their core. And so I think that's a really good way to think about it. Shopware is designed, our core is to be a world-class e-commerce platform that solves all the business automation, portals, and hierarchies and all that. And you're designed to own the flow of data, ensuring the experience accurately reflects what is happening in the ERP. So to me, this is really around a best of breed kind of merchant who needs excellence across all what they buy, as opposed to a best of suite, which is a great ERP and pretty good other things.
Totally, yeah. And I think, let's say tomorrow, if the customer wants to expand into marketing automation, then hey, you know what? Like you rightly pointed out, buy the best of the breed. Okay, go buy HubSpot or another solution which actually works better with Profit 21. Yeah, and that's exactly the way we look at it as well. And I think distributors also understand that, and so that way, it's definitely interesting.
Yep. And a lot of times e-commerce platforms like to talk about the fact that, hey, we're going to be the modernization of your stack. But just to be really clear, modernization does not mean replacing P21. What it ultimately means is utilizing the ERP to be world-class at what it does and utilizing other systems around it to be more efficient, to the way that you update pricing, the way that you engage sales reps. So this is really about making sure that the system works better than it does today, not about replacing P21.
And Shopware is built as a B2B first, right? So it's not like a B2C which turned into a B2B platform, but you're built as a B2B platform for the distributor, and you expand to other markets. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's right. Well, what's interesting about Shopware is our goal when we built Shopware's platform is not to solve 100% of anybody's problems. Okay, I'll say that again. Our goal is not to solve all your requirements. Our goal is to give you a platform and a framework that is incredibly customizable, configurable, and extendable. And so you might get 75% of what you need out of Shopware out of the box, but it allows you to get exactly what you want through building vibe coding custom apps, or utilizing our plugin ecosystem, or world-class integrations to other systems like you described a CRM. And so Shopware is designed to solve complexity, because what complexity really means is that it hasn't been solved the same way twice. Therefore, you need a system that supports that level of flexibility.
Yeah, and let's also talk about Adobe Commerce a little bit, because I do find a lot of distributors using Adobe Commerce or Magento. And sometimes, actually I was chatting with a distributor a few weeks ago, and, they spend a lot of money, on a particular platform. And, but then a lot of distributors who use P21 are mid-market distributors. You don't really have to spend that kind of money, but then, what's the value you're getting? And after maybe 2 or 3 years of licensing, you figure out, hey, what, it's too expensive, then let me look at another solution. Yeah. What have you got to comment on this? And do you hear this a lot as well?
Well, I can't comment specifically about a competitor, but I will say that generally speaking, Shopware is the right fit when people are looking for a modern system. I mean, our product was built and launched in essentially 2020. It's kind of just slightly pre-COVID. And what that really gives us the opportunity to have is a open system built on today's standards that lends itself beautifully to extending itself through things like AI and vibe coding. And it's done so in an incredibly efficient way. And so the code base is significantly smaller than our competitors, more specifically, more newer than our competitors. And that gives us incredible performance in terms of how fast the system runs, but also we can deliver it less expensive than some of our competitors. So there's a lot of advantages to being modern, and our goal is to pass those advantages on to these distributors who want the economic benefit of change, but also want the increased utility from a modern system.
Yeah, but AI is only as good as the data it can access. So,
True.
and I think this is also very important on why these systems need to be talking to each other. Yeah, and let's say everything happens in the ERP, then that information needs to flow on to Shopware or to an Adobe Commerce or Magento or any other platform.
That's right.
That so it gives a better experience for customers.
That's right. And this is really your expertise, right? It's the data flow, what information goes to what system, how efficiently, because we know that kind of over integrating systems and tying things together has the potential to slow everything down. How do you guys look at that at DC Cap to do the right level of integration to really preserve performance? Is that a top issue for DC Cap and how you think about it?
Totally, yeah. I mean, performance is something, as you know, right? So the performance also depends on the APIs. You're talking about the website or the integration performance. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the number one thing people can feel is when they go to a site or the sales reps goes into their portal and it is slow. And it is a deterrent, it is a revenue prevention mechanism. And so the reason for the most part that sites might be slow is because they're either overly engineered platforms with too much code that has to do too much thinking, or the integration is not done appropriately and it's sending too much information that it doesn't need. So how do you guys think about that as you
Totally, yeah.
build these integrations?
It really depends on ERP to ERP, right? So there are multiple things which can slow down a site. Most common thing we find is the performance of the API itself or the limitations of the API provided by the ERP. So that does limit the integration as well. Or Shopware, as you rightly pointed out, has open APIs. It's easy to connect and all that. But the same can be said for every ERP and every e-com platform, right? So we are limited that way. But the way we handle it is there are, instead of syncing batches, you could do a batch sync. Like instead of doing dynamic syncs, there are two ways, you can sync data, as you know, right? So one is dynamic or do a batch sync. There are times, where a batch sync, you don't really have to call every time, every time an order is placed. There are some customers, they are okay. Hey, I'm okay to process the sync or run the sync every hour. So that also helps with performance. So that's how we manage it. And our platform is built in such a way that, it's very, very easy for the distributor to manage the schedule. So that's one way we do it. And we also, let's say for platforms which do not have API access, we also create our own APIs. So that's something we do. And we also provide a lot of recommendations. Our tech team does a lot of analysis. I think, one cool thing about what we do, and this is the reason why we love our job, is we sit right in the middle. So we are able to work with multiple platforms. And then, we see the best of breed. We know what a platform is really, really good and what works well, what doesn't. And we're able to share best practices across different companies, different platforms and distributors. So that's something, we find very exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. And do a lot of people think about the integration just as an order pipe, or do they have the more broad view that this is a digital representation of the customer relationships?
No, I think people understand that this is a digital representation of customer relationships. But then even more, right, it really helps them with automation, because you don't really want to, let's say, tracking data. So, not just orders, but how do you track data? So it really helps with automation. I think the visibility or the understanding that, hey, integration is really, really critical is definitely there with distributors. But oftentimes, they're also limited with respect to the platforms they use. So
Yeah.
that's where I think, companies like Shopware really come into place. And we are very happy that you guys are a part of the P21 community as well right now. And you have started working with distributors who have P21 as the ERP.
Absolutely. I think if I could kind of summarize what we've talked about, for P21 users, the Shopware and DC Cap combination is compelling because each platform has a very clear responsibility. P21 remains the operational system of record. DC Cap reliably synchronizes ERP data, customers, pricing, inventory, orders, and Shopware then turns that data into a modern B2B experience with organizational accounts, approvals, quick quotes, quick ordering, self-service, etc. So the distributor doesn't have to compromise the complexity of their business, but the customer no longer has to experience that complexity, meaning the complexity has been managed. How do you think about my summary?
I think your summary is awesome. I'm just going to add one little thing to your story. I think, let's say if distributors want to implement Shopware, then
Yeah,
they could call our friends at American Eagle. How's that?
it's amazing. Yeah, American Eagle is absolutely one of our premier partners. We've got a handful of others as well. I'm sure they'll be at the P21 show, and excited to meet a bunch of distributors at that event.
Looking forward to the event as well, Jason. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us or joining me on this conversation. I enjoyed this chat.
Thank you, sir.